Hello.
Hello,
Right, get my
Kevin.
questions.
How are you? You good?
You may be going to the other room. You're going to the main guys
I've come to
first.
this is the best
you
one.
can't come to the most important people first.
I was prepared for this interview. I just thought it was second. Just so you know. Right, I'll get my questions up. Great. So, what was it when you first got the scripts that made you go, I want to do this one? I'm going to get involved in
It was so unique and so beautifully written by David McPherson. He was an incredible brand new writer. And classic, brilliant script. That's what drew me to it.
Yeah, John Strickland, who we'd all worked with before, director attached to it. And David evokes this very, very different world, which I knew nothing about. And I think, life on a rig and the working practices of a rig and what they're getting up to is a big unknown. You have these huge structures. Goodness knows how they get them into the middle of the ocean in the first place. Very, very isolated and very extreme, dangerous environments. And so you got the perfect setting for a drama.
Yeah. And you mentioned John Strickland. I mean, he's such a force in British sort of
Yeah,
TV history. I mean, going all the way back to like Prime Suspect.
Yeah.
I mean, what's it like to collaborate with someone like that? Because I guess when you're an actor, you want to have sort of trust and confidence in the setting and the director on set. When you've got someone with that much experience and that much pedigree, it must just be so much. That element of trust must be just so inbuilt, I suppose.
It really is. Particularly if you've worked with him before, so you know how good he is. Even it's not just by reputation of stuff that you've done, but because you worked with him before. But I remember the first, we were right in a kind of at the deep end in a way that the first stuff we did were in the control room, and it probably had the most scary kind of terminology, and we had to move around and make it look like it was our own. And very early on with John, just the way he handles the camera, the way he pieces it together, he so helps you inhabit the space that you're in very, very easily. So it is fantastic, and these things can absolutely undo you. I've been undone by not often, but by directors by not sort of just making the environment comfortable for you, and particularly for us in this world, because we were all doing things that were quite, I am not an offshore installation manager. This is all alien territory. All these things, not least these stunning sets that we were working on, help you believe yourself.
Yeah, and he's utterly brilliant. He's so much fun to work with. And I think if you've worked with him before, you have a real kind of shorthand.
You tried to get out.
Listen, the door was too noisy.
These two could sneak in even if they tried.
Everyone keeps telling you, we just had so much fun through there.
So much fun through there. Nice matching, guys. You look very coordinated. You match.
Have you ever seen Mel Brooks on the One Show? Did you ever see that clip?
No.
No. He found it all very funny.
Did he?
YouTube that later.
Yeah, you should. You mentioned about the sort of terminology and getting to grips with these characters. How much research do you have to do? If you're playing an oil rig manager, a medic, because I know some actors go very method and they like to understand the craft, the vocation, the science, whatever to do with the role. And that can help some actors, I'm sure. And some actors just go with what's on the page. What's your kind of approaches to when you play characters like this?
We got really lucky. We got really lucky on this, didn't we? We had so many experts. You couldn't not know about the job that you were doing. I had a lovely lady called Pam Smith who was actually the on-site medic. So she's an expert as she is doing a real life. And so she felt that a lot of TV work and medical stuff on TV wasn't quite there. So we kind of made a pact with John, and we kind of said, as much as we can, we will make it as truthful as possible to your taste. And she wasn't shy about saying either. It was great. Her expert advice was brilliant for me. I couldn't have done it without her. She was absolutely amazing for me, for sure.
Yeah, no, just, you do. When you're... Listen, it would take a decade to train to be an offshore installation manager. That's not why I'm an actor. So how you make it real for yourself. And the truth is the script focuses on the things that you really need to focus on, because all good scripts will conjure the situation and give you the lines that you would say in that situation if you were that person. So it's a bit like I was thinking this before doing it, that I did a play once where I had to play a flute, which I've never played before in my life. So you don't learn to play the flute and learn all the scales and you need 3-4 phrases that you do elegantly, and so that's what you work on. You work on the little bit that you need to do, and line by line through the script you zone in on those bits that you need to do, and that's what you, and hopefully you can get those up, and an actor's facility is to be able to get that up to speed really quickly. And I had the wonderful guiding hand of this guy called Derek Anderson, who was an OIM, recently retired, and he looked at every line that I said and then watched me doing it, and it helped me every step of the way. And he would give me the thumbs up, and if it was all right with him and if it was all right with John, let's move on.
Yeah, I love that authenticity. I mean, obviously Line of Duty, which you know very well, when they're having the conversations in the room and the kind of beeps on the thing. I know obviously that's, as an audience member, a lot of the terminology goes way over my head, but I love not knowing sometimes.
Yeah,
it's
I think
cool.
so. Yeah, I think it gives it a kind of genuine feel, doesn't it? So. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, this show really sets up, because I knew nothing about this going into it, so it really sets up the humanity, and I think I was expecting maybe a gritty tale of people working out on the old rig, and then it goes a bit, supernatural, so to speak. Was it sold to you as a kind of sci-fi, or did that hit you as well in a quite a surprising way when you read the
It
script?
did. I'm really glad you say that, because I think it's imbued with a real lovely humanity all the way throughout, and that's kind of that's what's going to make it, I think, potent. Is going to make it sort of moving as a drama if we're caring for the people on board. Again, it's David McPherson's writing that kind of brings you in and gets you to know people really, really swiftly without exposition. So you see all the kind of Josh, you see the dynamic, you see who everyone is and what they do, and then it spins, and it spins quite relatively quickly, So no, it wasn't. It was sold as I mean, what is it? It's a thriller with a supernatural element in it. It's a kind of edge of your seats, what's going to happen next drama. Yeah. But it's full, I hope, of real people who you care about. So it's. Yeah, it feels like it's got all the best elements.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it thought-provoking, really, because I think if you were just to go hell for leather with the working element of an actual rig without the human interaction that you see, I don't think that you'd feel the plausibility of the situation that they're in, and kind of make it relatable to the real human world out there, So I think that's what's so brilliant about it.
Yeah, and obviously there's all the kind of fog, the tremors. What did you guys have to work with I mean, is that a lot of that, I guess, is put into post, but did they give you stuff? Did they give you fog to kind of do?
They did, absolutely. Yeah. We had every element there, and sometimes we were out and about, and we would be shooting exteriors, but not actually on a rig itself, because that would have been sort of completely impossible to do, to even just getting us on or off in the first place. So there were bits and pieces that were shot, but generally without actors. So no, listen, they would be chucking everything. They'd be chucking sort of, things of water, wind, fog, everything. The fog was very real. While we did it, and you and I remember there's other elements when things start to appear, which was, I thought, again, beautifully done, and it was all, it was orchestrated timing, so that we would be doing the scene, and then suddenly, you'd be midline, and suddenly this thing would appear through the sky. So it was all done for us.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously there's a few kind of Game of Thrones actors in there, a few Line of Duty actors in there. It's nice to see familiar faces. It's a bit like, I always imagine, when you see like footage of the England camp at the World Cup. Yeah. You have the Man United players sat over there, the Spurs ones, in the kind of canteen, just you gravitate towards that.
Yeah, I know. I always think that about the footies as well. I was really, when these teams are playing each other, are all hugging each other and celebrating the goals together. That's nice. Yeah, they don't hate each other, really. It was very bonding,
it was lovely. You know what, we all kind of knew each other a little bit anyway, particularly through working with John. A lot of us have worked with John before, the director. So it was lovely. It was a safe environment to work in, which obviously on the grand scale of the rig set and everything like that, you needed to feel protected within the acting and the directing and things like that. So it was amazing. It was amazing.
You've both been on sort of successful TV shows. I was wondering, when you sign up to a TV show, because I'm sort of obviously, when you would have signed up to Game of Thrones, do you look at things as a potentially 10-year project? Or do you treat it by just this season, let's see how this goes and go from there? Because I guess when you sign up to any TV show, there's the possibility that you're going to be tied to something for a long part of your career. Is that something that goes through your mind?
Listen, being tied to something that is good, that is not a negative. That's
No.
the,
No,
you know,
that's a good
so
thing.
it's a good thing. So the thing is, you're only going to have it's only going to be an issue if it goes incredibly well.
Yeah.
And I think I can cope with that.
Yeah.
You know, I can cope with
that,
things going really, really well. So they keep wanting me to carry on doing it. But the truth is, you sort of certainly something like Thrones. No one had any idea that it was going to quite have the trajectory that it did. You know, and it evolved. You know, it changed through. So initially it was pretty ropey. It was. You know, the pilot was. You know, never really saw the light of day for whatever reason. So they learnt very quickly, and you know, God bless the Americans, because they sort of, you know, they will take a chance and they'll go for it. And you know, again, I sort of want to say, you know, we're very, very lucky as British actors speaking the English language. We get the chance to do these things, and you know, and the Americans will come in, or you know, Prime Video will come in, and they'll finance these things, and you know, generate these extraordinary works. Which I have to say, probably the likes of our more localized networks are not willing to take that much of a risk on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an ever-changing environment. So, but. No, so you don't. You know, part of you, a little bit, you hope so. You want it to do well. You would like to carry on doing it, but you know, you have to be, you know,
pragmatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a wonderful team. The creatives on this and the developing teams that worked with David for 5 years prior to this script, you know, seeing the light of day. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, they've got the time. These big networks have got the time to do that and create these shows that are hopefully, fingers crossed, long lasting.
I mean, honestly, as an actor, you feel so lucky. Because you come into these things at the 11th hour after a great deal of work has been done. You know, what people have sort of, you know, lost years trying to get something mounted, trying to get the finance, getting a production company to want to make it, and then all the pre-preparation, the pre-production to create rigs, to put it all together, to find your costumes. So you're so flattered as an actor. You kind of, and then you're put in the kind of the visible starry space where, you know, and your job is to make it look like it all belongs to you, and you did it all, and these are my machines, and I know what I'm doing, and these are my clothes, but you sort of possess it. But everyone has given you the chance to do that, and I'm always I've never stopped being grateful for that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it all leads up, all that hard work, everything to kind of launch night, you know, or release. Do you make plans for kind of launch nights now? Because you're both quite experienced. Or do you still? Has it got to a point where you've been in enough stuff that you can walk into a room and you can flick over and go, oh, I'm in that, and kind of just see yourself in something? Or do you still kind of? Is there still a bit of a? Do you make a bit of a deal of the launch of a new show you're in at home with your family?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. It's always exciting.
Yeah, it's always exciting. Particularly, I mean, I'm from a family of like, you know, a working class family who I've got no ties to the acting world whatsoever. So it's really exciting for them, even if they see me in the paper or something. You know, it's incredible, and it's always exciting.
Yeah, it's always exciting.
Screening parties at home and things like that.
Definitely.
Isn't it?
I mean, there's sort of launch and lots of what we're doing today, and what you're a part of is this. We had a premiere in Edinburgh last night, and then there's a premiere in London tonight, which is fantastic, and that's all glitzy and sort of red carpety and fun and stuff. And then there's going to be a little bit of a break. Or I don't know when this has been going out anyway, but you know, to when it actually hits the sky, and it does hit a screen in a very different way from, you know, what it did 10, 15 years ago. You know, so it goes onto these platforms that are just, it's available globally, and scary numbers of people have the ability to try and, you know, to watch it if they want to, if they're seduced by it. So yeah, very, very exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's a good show as well. I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I'm going to go into the video over to you two. Have got to come and interrupt that interview now.
I know.
Jump in.
I've
Get
already
them
done
back.
that. I did it to them before. I think they'll get a bit irritated.
Yeah. Cool.
Two in a row.
Cheers. Well, thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey,